Hi everybody, my name is Nate and you are watching WASD 20. In this video we're going to be taking an in-depth look at an older and well-loved Swedish RPG that has just been released with a new edition in English called Dragonbane. This is produced by Free League. I backed it on Kickstarter last year and just received it a few months ago, and I'm really excited to give you guys a look. Alright, so here we've got the box set. This is a nice, durable, glossy box, and it's pretty full of stuff. It's heavy. Let's open it up and take a look. Probably the first thing you would see if you bought this would be the welcome sheet here, with a little bit of information on getting started with Dragonbane. We have some initiative cards, 1 through 10. We've got a whole lot of treasure cards, whether it's coins or items. There are treasure cards for all the stuff you would pick up in the game. More treasure cards, some improvised weapon cards. And then we've also got a set of adventure cards here to go along with each of the quests in the included adventure. We've got a set of polyhedral dice in the box here that includes 2 d20s and 4 6-sided dice. Got some little standees for the pawns, which we'll get to in a moment. We've got a nice little Free League Games catalog as well. Then we've got the rule book, the adventures book. We'll be taking a closer look at both of those. We do have this little solo adventure here. This is just about an 11 or 12 page booklet that includes rules for playing solo, some of the kind of the solo toolkit, as well as some short descriptions of actual missions here and kind of how you would roll for stuff throughout the rest of this. So you could do that solo, or you could also do it cooperative where you and a friend are doing this together without a GM. Got a nice big map here of the Misty Vale, which is the location for the adventures in this set. Really beautiful, looks like watercolor. Yeah, just a great looking map. I do have a cloth version of this map too, which I purchased through the Kickstarter separately. All right, we've got 5 blank character sheets, and these are actually 2-sided, so you've actually got like 10 character sheets, which is really nice. And then we've got a bunch of pre-generated characters. We've got a wolfkin fighter, a mallard knight, we've got a human mage, an elf hunter, and a halfling thief. So those are all really nice inclusions. And we've got a very small battle map here, just that big. Stone on one side, kind of grassy wildlands on the other. This, I think, is an art print that was maybe exclusive to the Kickstarter. I don't remember. And then we've got these tokens, which are really nice. I like the art quite a bit. And this one looks like it has mostly monsters on it. And this one has about half of it dedicated to what looks like player characters. Next, we're going to take a closer look at the rulebook as well as the adventure book. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Describe. Describe is a web-based tool that offers a huge and ever-growing library of read-aloud text written by professional RPG writers. Monsters, locations, NPCs, spell effects, and more. They have a newly renovated sonic library as well, full of sound effects, music, and ambiance for your RPG. And they even have player tools, including a new combat collection with great descriptions for attacks. All of this stuff can be used by game masters to craft a great experience in advance, or keep it handy at the table so you can improvise better when the party heads off in unexpected directions. Right now, Describe has a killer Black Friday deal going on that is extended exclusively for my viewers to December 1st. It gives you 43% off any of their annual subscriptions, so this is a great deal. It's something I use at my table and I've really benefited from, so I highly recommend you check it out as well. All right, let's take a closer look at the rules, and then we'll get into the adventures as well. So the rule book is a little over 100 pages, and you can see it includes a section for your player character, the skills, combat and damage, magic, gear, a bestiary, and adventures. The adventures section doesn't really have any adventures, just some tools for game masters and creating adventure locations and quests and things like that. Preface talks about how this game came to be. It is a pretty old game that is based on a Chaosium title called The Magic World from 1982. And then there was a direct translation into Swedish, and this game has kind of evolved out of that. Chapter 1 here has some basic information about this game and about role-playing games in general, and it's overall pretty short before we get into Chapter 2, your player character. But to get into some of the basics here, you are going to be rolling d20s for most of the mechanics in this game to accomplish anything. Usually you're going to be rolling a d20 and you're wanting to get as low as possible. It is a roll under system. So let's talk about how that works here. We have our character sheet right here. And for Orla Moonsilver, let's say that we wanted to roll for our bow, an attack with our bow. In general, we're going to be rolling a d20 and trying to get under our skill rating, which is a 14. So lower is better, and a higher ability score makes that easier. So in this case, I rolled a 19, so that would be a miss with my bow. Let's say I want to roll a sleight of hand check. I have to roll under a 7. In this case, I rolled a 17, so definitely failed that as well. So you get the idea. Now, there is no difficulty class. What you're rolling against is just your ability score, but the GM might decide that you have a boon or a bane, and that works a lot like advantage and disadvantage in D&D 5th edition. If I have a boon, I'm going to be taking the lowest, so I would take the 9 in that case. If I have a bane, I'm going to be rolling twice and taking the highest. There's also rolling a demon, which is a 20. That's real bad. And then there is rolling a dragon, which is a 1, and that is really good. The roll under system can be a bit of an adjustment for people who are used to Dungeons and Dragons, but overall it is an easier system because you're not doing any math. You're not rolling and then adding a bonus and comparing it against another number. You're simply trying to roll under your score for whatever it is. We'll get into more of the rules in a minute here, but the kin are, and these are like the races, human, halfling, dwarf, elf, mallard, and wolfkin. So mallard and wolfkin are the two pretty unique ones to this game, and especially the mallards kind of, give it a little bit of a silly vibe in my opinion, but they seem really cool. We've got for professions, artisan, bard, fighter, hunter, knight, mage, mariner, merchant, scholar, thief. As character creation continues, you go through age, name, attributes, derived ratings, and skills, as well as heroic abilities and gear. Now, the character creation is really well laid out here. I like how they have it very step by step, and things tend to go in order, and you're not doing a ton of flipping back and forth between different parts of the book for character creation. So kudos to them for getting that pretty slick. In terms of leveling up in this game, you're not actually going to level up. All you're going to be doing is getting advancement in certain skills. So if you can answer these questions, you can advance certain skills. There's also a matter of rolling a demon or a dragon on a skill at some point during a game session. You would then put a little mark by it, and that makes that skill eligible for advancement. Then there's a process of rolling to see if you actually get to increase any of your scores. So yeah, it's a pretty cool system. And again, you're not going to be gaining levels, you're just going to be getting better at skills. You can also gain new heroic abilities as you play, and I would describe heroic abilities a little bit like feats in other systems. We'll get to those in a moment, but here are the core skills. You can see there are a lot of them here on this character sheet. There's 21 total, if I'm not mistaken, but a lot of those are specific to different weapons. And then we get our heroic abilities, which you can start with, and then you can gain more as you go. And yeah, these are introducing a new kind of currency to the system, and that is willpower. Because to use your heroic abilities, you must spend willpower points. So managing that becomes an interesting element of the game, and it seems a little bit similar to like mana points or something like that for a spellcaster in certain games. You can see the willpower requirements. This one is 1, this one is 3, this one is 2. Then we get into combat and damage. Now, initiative in this game is done just by drawing a card. So you would have everyone draw an initiative card, and the lowest goes first. You flip this card once you have performed your action, and you're usually going to be actually picking a new initiative card after every round of combat. So that is one way. It seems a little bit fiddly, but I think that is a pretty quick process. I haven't actually played it yet. There are certain monsters also that can get 2 initiative cards or even 3. It depends on the ferocity rating of a monster. In general, you're going to be moving and taking an action. So there's going to be a lot of similarities for those of you who have played 5th edition. There's going to be a lot of things that are familiar to you. However, there are some things that are definitely going to be different, like reactions, for example, actually use your action. So if you decide to react to an attack by parrying or dodging, which are a new element as well, that actually uses your action for the round. And when it's your turn, you won't be able to act now. By the way, most of the art in this book is by Johan Egerkrans, who is the artist who also did the Vaesen books, which I absolutely love. So Yeah, I think there are 2 other artists in the book, but most of it is by Johan, and man, I absolutely love it. It's just a really cool style. And I'm not gonna lie, it was one of the main reasons I backed this book. I just love his art. So when you are attacked, you can parry or dodge, as I mentioned before, and in order to parry, you're basically gonna be rolling against your ability. So for example, I could roll for this character to parry with my knife, and that would be rolling a 14 or lower. And in this case, I succeed, I got a 4. But I also have to pay attention to the durability of the weapon. In this case, it's only a durability of 3. So if the damage that the attack dealt is more than 3, my weapon is now damaged and not as effective until I get it repaired. For dodging, you're going to be rolling for evade, and on a success, you evade the attack and take no damage. But again, both of those things do use your action, and you can only choose to do one of them. You also have to decide you want to do it before the Game Master rolls for damage. There are a lot of other rules for combat here, including conditions, which, by the way, you can push a roll to try again, and then you suffer a condition. Rules for healing and rest. Riding animals, improvised weapons, and then we get into magic. And magic, there's definitely not a ton of spells here for mages. There's only one spellcasting class, and that is the mage. But the spells generally are going to fall into different schools of magic. So most of the time you're just going to have one school of magic. You could learn new schools, but the one that's included in the set here is Elementalist. And so he has access to the general spells, which are laid out right here, general magic, as well as the elementalism spells, which you can see right here. I do like that in casting spells, you can possibly get magical mishaps. Those infuse a little chaos into the game that can be fun. And then we get into the section on gear, and you can tell from the weapons, yeah, there's a lot of different stats here for weapons. You have, is it one-handed or two-handed? What is the strength requirement for a weapon? What is the range of the weapon? What is the damage of the weapon? The durability, the cost, the supply, how common or rare it is, and then the features, which are generally damage types, or, can it be a thrown weapon and things like that. This chapter also includes a lot of other trade goods and other gear that you might want to buy, as well as services. And then we get into the bestiary here, where you can see the monsters. Now, monsters are unique in this game. There are some that have monster attacks, and there are some that don't. So these all have monster attacks, but let's see here. Let's find one that does not. The goblin, here we go. It says, non-monster. Goblins do not count as monsters in combat, but as ordinary NPCs. Now, where that comes into play is mainly in these monster attacks. So for example, a giant, so the Game Master can roll a d6 to see which of these the giant does. In this case, a 2. It's a roar. The giant lets out a bellowing sound that raises the hairs on the adventurer's arms. All player characters within 10 meters suffer a fear attack. Then there's Smash Attack. Crazed with rage, the giant smashes the player character with its feet, fists, and weapon in a frenzy of rapid blows. Everyone within 10 meters suffers 3d6 bludgeoning damage and is knocked down. So the thing about these monster attacks is that unless specified, they can't be parried. Many of them also cannot be dodged, and they automatically hit. So it does make monsters very formidable, and it seems to me that combat might go pretty quickly. Now, one thing I didn't talk about is armor. Armor in this game just reduces damage. So you can see that my leather armor here has an armor rating of 1. That means that if I take 5 damage, I actually only take 4. For the dragon here, you can see it has armor of 6. So it is going to be reducing the damage done to it quite a bit. Anyway, the whole monster attack system definitely seems very similar to what's in Forbidden Lands by Free League, as well as Vaesen. It just makes the monsters seem a little more cinematic and not so formulaic, in my opinion. It can make for really kind of exciting, dynamic combat. Also got some common animal stats here, and then we get into the section on adventures. Got journeys, traveling in the game, basically. I've got a section on the Game Master's role, non-player characters, creating adventures with some tables for the quest, the adventure site, and the journey. And then we've got a nice little index here. And then let's talk about the adventure book. So the adventure book is also a little over 100 pages, looks like 116, and there are 11 included adventures, and those were all from the Kickstarter. I think they kept getting more stretch goals, and it was a lot of fun as a backer to see the number of adventures going up and up. So you can see there's an introduction, there's an opening scene, there's a little combat in there, I believe. Then there's the location outskirt, which is a village. And then you've got some journeys and then the actual adventures here. So this is a Game Master's version of the map that shows you where the opening scene is, the village of Outskirt, and then all the other adventure locations in the book. Each of which seemed like they would be good for one game session, maybe a little bit more, but yeah. Now the history and current situation, I've read this and it was really interesting. I thought, it told a good kind of backstory for this place. A lot of dragons versus demons stuff. The dragons traditionally were good, but the Dragon King kind of went mad. They kept the demons at bay. Now the demons are back. There's orcs in the area. They've pushed all the orcs out, and people are wondering, why are the orcs leaving this area? So yeah, there's a lot going on, and it kind of sets a cool scene. Throughout the adventure, the player characters are most likely going to be trying to collect the 4 pieces of this statuette of the Dragon Emperor. The statuette itself is a key to unlock a secret hidden weapon that can defeat dragons and demons. So yeah, we've got the opening scene here with some encounters. Then we've got the village of Outskirt, which there's quite a bit on this. There's rumors, random events, locations, and NPCs. A lot of good stuff here that I could see being useful for any role-playing game, not just Dragonbane. So something to keep in mind here. I might try to use some of this stuff for other systems as well. And the journey section basically is just a lot of random encounters. And then we get into the specific locations now. Some of them are really interesting. There's one that has kind of an interesting time loop mechanic, and there's just a lot of interesting backstory and characters in here. So yeah, I was really impressed. Pretty much most of them can be done in any order. The only exception to that is the last one, the Isle of Mist, which is the campaign finale. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck with these adventures, the rule book, and all the other goodies in the box. So overall, I really like what I'm seeing in this box set. It's something that I'm definitely considering running at my table in the near future. I would describe Dragonbane as a fairly middle-of-the-road RPG in terms of complexity. It's not quite as rules light and fast as I thought it would be, because once you get to the combat section, there are a lot of fun mechanics and abilities to mess with that can add to the complexity. That said, I can't see it being anything like high-level D&D play where you've just got, in my opinion, way too much going on. I think the inclusion of the solo adventure or co-op adventure is really nice for giving you a feel for the game and giving you some options to play when you can't gather your group. I think the adventures themselves in the bigger book are a great value. They're providing a lot of adventuring material there, in addition to some dice and the cards, the pawns. Now the retail price is a little higher than most other starter sets for other RPGs. You're paying $50 at retail, but when you consider all the stuff you're getting and the fact that this is not a quick start version of the rules, they are giving you the full rule book here. I think it's a great value. I'll put some links to where you can buy the set down in the video description. It is available on Amazon right now, and of course you can check your favorite local game shops as well. All right, before we go, I do want to thank the WASD20 patrons for their support. Patrons are people who support the channel on a monthly basis. I am so thankful to have these people in my corner, and they get some pretty cool rewards too. I would love to have you join as well. Check it out over at patreon.com/WASD20. All right, that's going to do it for this one, everybody. Take care. You'll see me again very soon.